Now let's talk about some different type of operators. The first one is increment operator and the second one is decrement operator. So first of all, I'm going to say integer num is equal to 0. So I defined a variable which is num is equal to 0. Then I'm doing num plus plus, and then I'm saying value of num after increment is equal to this. Then I'm doing num minus minus, and then I'm saying value of num after decrement. So this should be decrement. Decrement is equal to this. Let me execute the whole code and let's see what happens. So if you see, the initial value of number, or I can say num, was 0, right? Then I incremented it, and then I'm saying value of num after increment is equal to this value. So value of num after increment is equal to 1. So what happened? The value of num incremented by 1 automatically. Then I used the decrement operator. So I used num minus minus. Okay. So in this case, I am saying value of num after decrement is equal to this particular value. Value of num after decrement is equal to 0. So what happened is the initial value of num was 0. After plus plus, the value of num incremented by 1. And after minus minus, because here the value of num is 1, right? Here the value is 1. Then I applied minus minus. So the value of num got decremented by 1 and it became 0 again. So what this increment and decrement operator are doing? It is incrementing the value and decrementing the value of a particular variable by 1. These operators will be very useful when we will talk about loops in the future tutorials. For now, the thing which we have to note here is that this operator, which is plus plus operator, is a unary operator. I can say that it is a unary operator. Why? Because it only needs one operand to operate. For example, if you see here, this division operator, right? Now this operator needs two operands, or I can say two values to operate. So I can say that this is the first operand and this is the second operand. So it needs two operands to operate. But increment operator need only one operand, which is this particular variable, to operate, and it can perform the operation, right? So these kind of operators which needs two values to operate on, these are known as binary operators, and operators which need only one operand to operate on, these are known as unary operators. So I can say that this is nothing but a binary operator. Similarly, there are some operators which need three operand to operate on. These kind of operators are known as ternary operators. Ternary operators. We'll talk about this going forward, but for now, you can just understand that this is nothing but a unary operator and this is nothing but a binary operator. Okay. Now let's talk about the concept of prefix and postfix. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to update this code a little, and I'm going to ask you what should be the value. So let's do one thing. I'm going to paste the system.debug over here, and so I'm saying value of num after increment is equal to, and here I'm saying num plus plus. Okay. So instead of doing num plus plus separately, I'm just doing it right here. Now what I want you to do, pause this video and let me know what should be the result as I execute this code. So let's execute this code and let's see. So if you see, I executed these two lines of code and I'm getting value of num after increment is equal to 0. So I can say that even when I applied plus plus to this variable, right, the value is still coming as 0. It is not incremented. Now let me do one more thing. So instead of doing plus plus like this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just change it from here to here. So instead of doing num plus plus, I'm doing plus plus num. Okay. Let's execute this code again. So now if you see what I'm getting value of num after increment is equal to 1. So this time I can say it is working fine, right? But if you remember, when we were doing it like this, for example, num plus plus, and then we were displaying the value, it was also coming as 1. So why is it not coming 1 here, but it is coming 1 right here? Though I am trying to do num plus plus in both the cases. So why is it so? The reason being that when I do something like num plus plus, so when I do something like num plus plus, this is known as postfix. So this is known as postfix. Why postfix? Because I'm having the operator post the operand, or I can say after the operand. So first of all, I have the operand and then I'm having the operator. So in case you use the postfix notation in a particular expression, for example, this is an expression, right? What it does is it will refer to the older value which was there earlier before this operation. Okay. So in case you do num plus plus in a particular expression, or I can say if you use the postfix notation, what will happen is it will use the older value of the variable without applying this operation. So it was using the older value when we did num plus plus. But now we are doing plus plus num here. So now it is taking the correct value after applying this operation, right? So this kind of notation where we do plus plus and then the variable, or I can say the operand, which is num. This kind of notation is known as prefix notation. So this notation is known as prefix notation. Why? Because here we are having the operator before the operand. So in case the operator is there after the operand, it is known as postfix. In case the operator is there before the operand, it is known as prefix. And this postfix and prefix, they are mainly the concept for unary operators, which only applies on one particular operand. What is the difference between these two? The difference is that in case of postfix, the older value of the variable will be used in the expression instead of the newer value which will come after applying the operation. But in case of prefix, the newer value which will come after applying the operation will be used within the expression. However, if you keep it separately, then it will be the correct value, because anyway that is incrementing the variable, right? Postfix is also incrementing the variable. It's just that within the same line, or I can say within the same expression, it will use the older value. But after this particular expression is evaluated, or I can say when this particular line is executed, I can say that the value is automatically incremented by 1 and the newer value will be used afterwards. So within the same line, it is about the same line, or within the same expression, the postfix will refer to the older value of the variable and the prefix will refer to the newer value of the variable. So we can do these things together as well. For example, if I say that, the value of num after increment is equal to, and here I can say, let's say prefix is equal to plus plus num, plus I can say postfix is equal to num plus plus. Okay. Or I think I can do it like this. So value of num, prefix is equal to this, and postfix is equal to this. Now let me know what should be the output of this. So let's see the output. Okay, I forgot one plus here. So because we are concatenating this string and this value, right? So we need another plus. Let's execute this code. Let me add a space here as well. So if I execute this code again, okay. So now if you see what I'm getting here that value of num, prefix is equal to plus plus num. So num was 0 initially, right? Then I did plus plus num. So the value is coming out to be 1. So num is incremented by 1. And then I did postfix is equal to num plus plus. So in this case, the value is still 1. Why? Because this num plus plus is referring to the older value in this particular expression. However, if I do one more thing here, so let's say I'm saying that I'm going to display postfix twice. So I can copy this whole thing and I can paste it here. Now let's see what will happen. So if you see, now I'm getting, so the initial value was 0, okay. Value of num, prefix is equal to plus plus num. So the value is incremented by 1 and the incremented value is displayed right here. Then postfix is equal to num plus plus. Now the value is incremented, but this incremented value is not displayed right here in this particular expression. Instead, it is using the older value, which is 1. So it is still showing 1. Now in the third try, the value is again incremented. Here the value is 1. In this expression, the value incremented to 2, but it showed the older value, which is 1. In this expression, the value incremented to 3, but it is still displaying the older value, which is 2. So in this case, it is coming as 2. However, if I try to display the num again, so let's say if I say here that value of num is equal to, and I simply display the value of num. So I can say that value of num is equal to, and here I can say plus and then num. So you can see that we'll have 3 here. So if you see, we are getting 3 here. Why? Because the value was updated to 3 in this particular statement. So I hope you understood the concept of prefix and postfix, and what is increment operator and what is decrement operator. And these both operators can be applied in postfix form as well and in prefix form as well. So that's all for now. In the next tutorial, we are going to learn about some more interesting operators in Apex. Let me know your feedback in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time.